Hello, everyone. Welcome to No Drama, Just Movies, and we are back this week with our two Pence. This is our news topic discussion video series on this channel where we take a pressing topic or anything it could possibly be in the world of TV and movies, and we simply discuss it. And of course, there is no bigger topic and event than, of course, the event that happened last night. As you can see there, at the time of recording,
Oh
we are here
my.
recording. We are here recording on a Monday evening, and last night, obviously, of course, was the Oscars, and we are going to delve into our thoughts on that. My name is Cameron. Oh, Timothy Chalamet. What a shame. Kelly Smith. And I'm joined by my esteemed colleague.
I'm Phil. I lost my shoe in Demi Moore, Corwin.
Well, and yes, we are here to cover and give our reaction, our unique reaction, of course, to what was the 2025 Oscars ceremony, which took place last night. So let me go straight to you. What was your initial thoughts after the award show? And now that we are nearly 24 hours post the award show itself.
It had some time to sit. So, first of all, I think my first thought afterwards was, okay, this was a fairly tame, I think, Oscars. It was kind of like just went ahead, I suppose. No like major upsets, no like major scandals, I think. Except like some people getting outraged that some actors and actresses weren't mentioned in the in memoriam. I think that's the biggest thing right now that like kind of came out of this. And otherwise some like fake things like, oh, Adam Sandler storms out. But yeah, it was kind of like a decent, just a get together ceremony. Yeah. What are your
Well,
thoughts?
my thoughts is, and I'm going to try and not take up too much time here. My thoughts, so for some background, right? Obviously, back in my younger days, well, I'm only 29, so I'm not old, but, neither of us are old. But, when I was young and, I was in my teenage years and, as an aspiring actor, the Oscars was something I really look forward to
Hmm.
because, you're young, you're passionate, you're thinking about, that's going to be me one day. I want that to be me one day. And I had a friendship group that were all actors. And so, for us seeing our favorite actors and actresses giving these killer speeches, and it meant so much. As the years went by, not so much. I have not watched the Oscars in full since I think probably around 2014. So it's been over 10 years for me. And, if I'm being honest with you and transparent, unless if it wasn't for this channel and us covering the Oscars, I probably wouldn't have actually watched it.
What?
And the reason for that is simply this, and I think it goes into a bigger topic, and that is award shows in general in now what is 2025.
Hmm.
Um, I think the thing about award shows is that I think we have seen, year after year, the declining viewership for the Oscars. I think it was up last year in comparison to 2023, I believe, or it might have been the other way around. But, the question is why our award shows is the Oscars, does it mean as much to the casual viewer? And I don't think it does. But I think part of that is because of what an award show is in general. And I think that people don't watch, unless you're in this bubble, unless you're in the film bubble,
Hmm.
I don't think people watch award shows or even the Oscars to actually really pay attention to who won. And hold with me that for a second, because I know people are going to be like, no. People want to see who wins best actor, best actress, best film. And I agree, but it's not about people from the outside don't see it the same as people on the inside. It's you're watching it because you're enjoying seeing your favorite stars be celebrated or win something. You're just enjoying seeing your stars in general. Like when I think of, other award shows, like for example in music, the thing that made me watch music award shows when I was growing up, and I'm not the biggest music fan in the world, but it's because I enjoyed the performances. I enjoyed seeing stars in environments and habitats live on TV that I'm not used to seeing. And I enjoyed that. Do you know what I mean? I think that's still how I kind of view this Oscars, where it's like, I did fall asleep towards the end of it because it is quite long. And I think that is a big problem they gotta find a way to trim the length for these
It
things. And
was
I
like
think that
it was the same length as The Brutalist, basically, right? It's like 3.5 something hours.
and I think
So
look,
The
I think
Brutalist.
it's I think it's been shown that the Oscars runtime is not going to be shortened. I think that they are dedicated to presenting all what was it 19 or 20 something awards,
23.
and I understand that. I understand it is respectable to to the artists, those involved. I still think this, if I'm being honest with you, would benefit from some of these shows, some of these awards, excuse me, being on a pre-show. And I know that sounds really rude and they're not going to do it. But at the end of the day, the majority of the audience are tuning in to see Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Movie. Those are the main ones they're tuning in to see. And obviously, all due respect to all the other awards, but unless you're in the bubble,
Yeah.
unless you're actually working within the industry, it's a lot. And other than that, you're looking for performances. And I will say one of the things about this show, if I'm being very honest, I think the cheat that they had, and I call it a cheat, is that they got to have a performance done by two actresses who are in one of the most biggest movies of last year. And I think if you cut that performance, if you even cut their involvement in this award show in general, I think you would have had a significant audience that wouldn't have even tuned in. And that's my honest opinion on that.
I think, like, because Conan said it himself, right? This is a show where they are celebrating not just the people who are in front of the camera and not just the big people, like, the major awards, but also all the other people that are usually not seen. So I think this is like very, very important for those people who don't get the recognition they deserve. I think because a lot of films, it is teamwork, it is costume designers, it is set designers. What's the award called? But it is the music, it is the songwriters, it's all of them contributing to what the film becomes, and I think they need and deserve just a moment like that as well, like to be included in that. I think it would be a little bit rude and unfair to say, nah, we only give awards to like A-listers and directors or something like that, and the rest of the people who do the same amount of work and sometimes maybe even some of the crucial work like editors who can save the film in the edit. We just, we do them at some other point. We do a quick list of like the winners. So I think it needs that. And I'm willing, like I'm happy. I've sat through longer films or films just as long. I'm happy to sit there and go through all the awards, and I will be as happy to hear like who got best makeup and invest as much in that as I invest in like who got best actor or best film.
I mean, well, best of luck. I mean, best look. Look. I want to make this clear, right? I see this in two ways, right? There's part of me as just a human being and someone who's being just genuinely nice and kind and reflecting on obviously the fact that I was at one point a part of this industry or bubble to a degree, that I absolutely do agree that these people all do deserve their nods, they deserve their dues, they deserve their respects, and they deserve to be highlighted. I'm not disagreeing with that. But the other part of me is saying that this is a telecast. That the aim of this show is that you're trying to you're trying to get people to watch this thing. They spend a ton of money just on trying to get people to watch this thing. And the reality is, and it's always going to be that reality, is that for everyone else outside the industry, for everyone else outside the bubble, they're tuning in for four main categories. Really and truly, arguably three, which is best actor, best actress, best film. Those are the main ones. Those are the headline ones. That's the ones that everyone really, really cares about. And I think that I mean, I'm on two sides of the fence with this. I think it's just that as someone who is not as interested in the Oscars as I once was, sitting through this is tough for me, and sitting through this to get to the main awards, which it is no coincidence that the main awards are at the very end of the show. Because they're building up to those. Those are the main ones. That's why they put them there. I just think that I don't think there's necessarily a way to fix this. I think that if it was me personally, I would have two separate shows. I would have one on YouTube and I would have the main awards live on
Oh,
TV.
yeah.
I genuinely would do it on that. If I'm being honest with you, there were times when I was looking at the pictures afterwards of the Vanity Fair stuff and I was like, that looks more interesting to me. I'm more intrigued. And I think there is a thing about that where people are more intrigued in how people looked, how they dressed, who was there, who's sitting next to who turned up to the party, than the actual awards itself. However, let's go into that. Let's go into the actual awards. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with the actor. Let's start with, I guess, with
Supporting or main?
we can start with supporting, I guess. Yeah. Let's build. Let's
I
build.
mean, let's build. I mean, I'll quickly go first with this one.
Yeah.
In terms of a real pain, I obviously wasn't the biggest fan of the movie. I can see why Kieran did deserve that one, and so I wasn't not happy for him winning. And I loved his speech, and I loved his speech.
Absolutely.
That was maybe one of the highlights of the whole bloody show. And so, in all fairness, I was quite grateful for that in the end. But what was your thoughts? Was that the rightful winner?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there was some really, really good performances. Like it was a good list. Like with Guy Pearce and Jeremy Strong as well. Jeremy Strong we really liked in The Apprentice.
Yeah,
So it was, I think for me, it was kind of between those two. But yeah, Kieran, I'm quite happy. I kind of saw it coming, but because he, I think, got other awards before that, and
yeah,
so I'm quite happy with that one. And yeah, I love
yeah,
the speech as well. Like he was really, really. I think that's you kind of noticed with the speech that he is very much like the character he played, and I think that
yeah.
was like the criticism of a lot of people that he's just playing himself. Why would we give it? But I think it's we're going into acting now and why people get awards. But I think it's the doing that while also being another character. Like he didn't play himself. He didn't go up there and did a real pain as Kieran Culkin. He had the same, maybe had the same energy, but it was still a different character. And to find those like subtle differences between yourself and that, and it was still entertaining. So fuck it. So yeah.
All right, so best supporting actress. I mean, I feel like this one is definitely going to be one that we have some thoughts on. Obviously, the great and very beautiful Zoe
Oh,
Saldana obviously took this
oh
one.
yes.
Um,
I thought
I,
you were going to say Ariana.
well, I mean,
They're all
both very.
beautiful.
I mean, yeah, and I mean, I'll jump off right off that. I personally, I would have given it to Ariana, I think. When I saw Ariana's performance, did I think that it was Oscar caliber in comparison to maybe some of the nominees that we've had in years prior, right? Not necessarily, but I think if you're looking at the group of nominees, and you had made this point to me as well, obviously making that transition from musician to taking on this role. I think that she did deserve it to a degree, a bit, but more specifically, like I do respect and appreciate Zoe Saldana. We both have our thoughts on Emilia Perez, right? And we both did not like the movie.
Shared
But
them. It's
one of the things
brilliant.
that I personally didn't agree with, and maybe it's just me, like I
Mm.
didn't feel that Zoe Saldana's performance as Rita was anything close to an Oscar-winning performance. That's me personally. I'm not anymore I'm no longer an actor. I'm not an acting coach. I just didn't think that performance was anywhere near an awards caliber performance. And that's just me.
It felt to me like I definitely think she deserved it. I think she was really good in a trash film, sorry. But she was one of the best things about that film. She kind of, I think, saved that song as well. Like without her, the way she performed it, like the energy she gave El Mal, which won the Oscar as well. Um, like it probably wouldn't have done as well. So but it strikes me like speaking of Amal, it I wonder like how much it was just that song, like how much it was like how what percentage for percentage
Percentages.
that percentage that song contributed to what people voted for because I think
100%.
like I said, it was a really well performed song.
I'm saying
Gave it everything.
the percentage is 100%.
Mm.
Like I don't know what else would justify giving that award. I'm being a bit mean, but I feel like the yeah, I was just very shocked by that. But you
Yeah.
felt like it was a good way to go.
Yeah, and I think like the others, while they were okay, like there was some Ariana Grande as well. I would have loved for her to win just to like complete that story. It would have been a nice little tale, from
Mm,
fan of Wicked, and she got the wand from the original Glinda, and
mm,
going from that to actually winning an Oscar for that performance that she like
yeah.
wanted so much. That would have been a great like story, I think, of little fairy tale, magic of the Oscars, so to speak. But I think, yeah, so you had, I think, just a little bit more to give.
All right, well then let's roll on to best actor. Well, obviously, the Broad man, I'm gonna call him Mr. Adrian Brody. Obviously took this one home. And I thought, personally speaking, I think that it was well deserved. Obviously we also have our views on the Brutalist, conflicting views, I think, actually, on the Brutalist. But I felt that Adrian deserved that award. I know that people were also rooting for Timothy to potentially take that home. And I wasn't against the idea of him taking it home, but I think I was more for the idea of Timothy winning that award just because of what it would mean or how it would look, rather than the actual performance. And I didn't think that his performance as Bob Dylan was as good as Adrian Brody's performance.
Which is why it's weird that he, for me at least, said he was nominated for that one in the same year that Dune 2 came out, which is like one of his best performances for me.
Mm.
Just that scene in the cave, for example, I think I mentioned it before. Like when he has that speech, it's absolutely mesmerizing. He gives it everything as well. And like I would have given him the Oscar right away just for that speech. No contest.
Mm.
But he got it for the nomination for this instead. And I think, speaking on that, because Dune didn't see a lot of awards, I think like one or two as well, right?
Yeah. It
Um,
got visual effects, right? I think
yeah.
best visual effects. Is...
Visual effects and maybe sound. Ooh.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking the Academy is waiting for the third one, and it might pull a Lord of the Rings, and win a lot more awards for the third film, but basically like for the whole trilogy, if you know what I mean. And maybe Timothy will get his for that one. If he
Mm.
doesn't do like a film in between that absolutely knocks everyone away. But yeah, I think Adrian Brody, yeah, definitely was one of the favorites, and I think it's quite deserved as well. He really did a good job.
Yeah. No,
Although
I agree.
Hmm. Although having said that, I've watched A Different Man as well with Sebastian Stan, and obviously we watched The Apprentice together. And it like for a pretty boy Marvel hero, he's turning into a damn good actor and like really
Yeah.
picking his roles as well. That kind of give him something to do, and I'm like really looking forward to what he's doing, and maybe getting another shot um, next time or like in a few years time. So yeah, maybe would have almost given it to him as well. So it was a really strong category, I think.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the final three that we're going to talk about here is, was all taken by, one movie, should we say? A movie that
Oh, yes.
admittedly I haven't seen yet, that being Anora. And so I'm gonna more so go over to you for these final three. Besides Best Actor, I do want to comment.
Yeah.
Best Film,
Uh,
Best Picture. I do want to speak about
yeah.
that. But obviously Best Actress, lead it away.
Mikey Madison. Mikey Madison. I think well deserved. Like, especially seeing her and like doing the interviews on sofas and stuff like that, which she did like during the film, after the film, going around and seeing her like doing her speech as well. Like she's so different from her character. Like Anora is very loud and like she you know almost abrasively so. While Mikey is kind of like nice and like a little bit like calmer, and so like
Mm.
there was huge difference I think between the two, and like absolutely believable. And I loved her performance in the Nora. So yeah, I think she deserved that one as well.
I mean, let's roll on to then obviously the next one being obviously best director. Once again, lead the way in that one.
Baker with that one. So again, like Anora, I love this one more and more. It was because he wrote the script as well. Like he and did he get the Oscar for? Ugh.
He did, he did.
He did.
For original screenplay, I
Awesome.
think, right?
Hmm. So he to take a script, he took a script that was very serious and could have other people could have turned it into like a really thriller and like with like the violence very uh heavy and like a film that makes you like shrink, but he turned it into a comedy and he used that script to make a comedy out of it. And I think that's very much in like the obviously the acting as well, but the directing as well. Just like how what kind of atmosphere you want out of each scene and how you direct the actors to play these words. I think he managed it. He did a really good job as well, just to get like the humor out of something so heavy and tragic, really. Some deserved as well. Although, let me find that. The other one would be the substance. I would have given it to maybe,
Mm.
because that was really well directed as well. So, but yeah, I'm happy with that one, I think.
Well, I
But
mean, on that note, roll on the biggest award of the night and the final award of the night, obviously that being best picture. I'm gonna see Anora later on this week with yourself. You've already seen it, so
you
I will get an idea as to if I think that it should have won. Prior to that being the winner, I was really big on Dune Part Two winning, and it's interesting.
yeah.
You mentioned earlier on, the last part you said obviously about if they're waiting for the third one,
Hmm.
and I don't know if they are. And one thing that I thought was very interesting, well, two things. One is, in fact, I'll say one thing for now because the other thing
Hmm.
is related to a wider point. You mentioned obviously Conan, well, Conan in general, but earlier on in the telecast, I think towards the beginning, he made the joke, about Dune 2 being a movie that none of us know what it's about. And I think that that's something that I don't think should be taken just fully as a joke. I wouldn't be surprised if there is this sentiment. We saw obviously a few weeks ago there was a Variety article talking to anonymous
Hmm.
voters, and they also made a comment about Dune. And I wouldn't be surprised if Dune is a movie, and I have heard this from some people as well. If Dune Part Two is a movie that some people just didn't understand, and I
Not to
understand that in
understand.
well, I think I do understand that in a way because even I had to watch it again to notice certain things. It is very heady, I think, in a great way. But I think that there is some people who do maybe not. It is a bit too heady for them, and they don't quite understand really what's going on and really what's going on. And the fact that Denise didn't obviously get a best directing nod, I think, is criminal as well. So I
Yeah.
really wanted Dune Part Two, but I haven't seen Anora, so I can't comment. But Anora took it home. What's your thoughts?
I don't want to talk it home. It is a really good film. It is a very fun film, and funny, but also like, very honest with the characters. So as a film and but again, there's like we had Dune Part Two, which I think I would have given it to because I don't think I ever said it like on camera, but like Dune and Dune Two were the only films I can remember where I like cried, not because the films were sad, but because they were so fucking beautiful. And just like sitting in like because we watched it in IMAX, right, as well, like watch it
The
in IMAX.
best way to do it.
And like just seeing this world and these characters brought to life, and like wow, and seeing what filmmaking can be and like how amazing it could be, and I think that's for me a best picture, right?
I
Um,
agree.
but they didn't go with it. I'm Still Here was really good as well, and I'm glad it got the foreign Oscar. While we're on best films, but it was nominated for both. Um, that was a beautiful film as well. Glad it got one and not both because it like opened the space for somebody else, which I liked, which I'm happy about. And maybe to almost finish it off, unless we have more. I'm gonna be mean now, but I'm really, really fucking glad that Emilia Perez didn't win that many Oscars. That he got two, arguably pretty much deserved, I think, Oscars, but that it didn't go best film, didn't go best international, that Jacques Audiard didn't get anything for him. I know it sounds really mean, but I don't think it would have been a good like message for the Academy and for filmmakers in general if you
Mm,
rewarded something like that.
yeah.
Um, he said with very much despising this film. So yeah, I'm glad it didn't get as many actual trophies. Uh,
I'm with you. I am with you. And the point that I want to end on is, Anora obviously taking home, being so many awards and being the one that is obviously the headliner for the night. Um, Obviously, the reason why I mentioned that, obviously we're going to go and see it later on this week because what they usually do is the best picture winner. You
hmm,
then suddenly see it's re-released significantly in cinemas following that win, and we are seeing that. And I will be intrigued to see now how many people do watch Anora. Obviously, we might put it here, but I was reading an article previously from Forbes that was published after the Oscars last night when they asked if the Oscars is shifting into irrelevancy. And the reason why they brought that up is because they were talking about, for example, how a lot of the movies that were nominated this year are movies that a lot of people haven't actually seen.
hmm,
And that two big movies in Dune and Wicked kind of like take up the majority of the box office for the entire year. And the
hmm,
reason why I bring that up is because, Bill Maher was doing a special on Friday and he was talking about how the Oscars is that one time a year where everyone turns to each other and says, no, I haven't seen that one either. And it does, I am intrigued to see, the impact of Anora now in the coming days and weeks and months. And if, just I guess how film in general is, especially from a theatrical standpoint over the next year, and if we'll see an uptick in how many people watch Anora,
hmm.
like myself, who's going to see it for the first time.
And other films as well. Like it was definitely a lot more indie heavy, and I think I can't remember who, but somebody mentioned that as well. Like um, in their acceptance speech, that they're hoping that this will give a boost to independent films. And I hope that too. I hope like people, Hollywood watches the success of A Little Lenora, and how well like things like Substance I think did as well. Not with the Oscars, but at least with the nominations. And just Brutalist as well, like filmed for 10 million, you know, obviously like cutting corners here and there, maybe a little bit, but just to follow it to see that films don't have to be that expensive. They can still be good. And give more trust indie films a little bit more. That's my acceptance speech. My little
I mean, and
political.
the final thing I will say in response to that is that I do agree with you. I do agree with that sentiment. However, on the other side of it, from a business side of things, you can say trust indie movies, but none of these indie movies really made any money. But that's a wider topic
Yeah,
in general, and I don't think
yeah.
it should stop people from making these movies because if not, we're gonna fall into a very scary place. But anything final you want to add before we wrap up here?
Um, I don't know. Shall we quite quickly? We have like 3 minutes, 2 minutes and 40 left. Shall we like quickly mention Adrian Brody's elongated acceptance speech?
I mean, yeah. I mean, quickly, yeah. It was long. That's all I have to say. It was long.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. It was long.
Anything you want to say on it?
That's what she said. I I I know these all these people have something like political and something important to say, and I know he said something important as well, about like the immigrant experience, which is very important right now, as Trump is gearing up to like throw everyone out. But there is a reason why these are like why they have to be strict, I think, and stick to the time because otherwise you have to decide like what is worth, you know, going on for and letting who do you let speak. So it's much safer to say no, you get this a lot of time and then you stop. While I liked his like, cheeky, I've done this before, stop the music. Um, he wasn't brief after that. He like thanked his mom and dad and da, 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 and then went
Yeah,
into a whole speech. And while I liked the speech, and I think again it's important, he did waste a lot of time, and I don't think he should have been allowed to continue. He should have just had the same amount of time as everybody else,
yeah,
because other people had important messages as well.
it's true. Yeah,
It's a bit unfair to them, I think.
yeah. I agree. I couldn't agree more. I mean, that will do it for our episode of Our Two Pence. Once again, we are No Drama, Just Movies. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like, comment, share. Drop down in the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts on the Oscars in general and where you think it could go in the years to come. Once again, my name is Cameron Timothy Charlemagne. Oh, Timothy Charlemagne, Kelly Smith. And
What
I'm
was
joined
that?
by my esteemed colleague here.
Phil, I lost my shoe in Demi Moore, Corwin.
And that will do it for this episode of Our Two Pence. Thank you very much for tuning in today, guys, and we will see you very, very soon. Take care, guys.
I want to thank my mom and dad.